Boom. All right. We are live. We are live. We are live. We are live. Welcome to another episode. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm gonna. I think I'm gonna make this fairly a quicker, more quick episode. We'll see how it goes. See where I feel like going with this. But anyway, a lot going on in the news, especially in California and Los Angeles, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I was compelled to honestly to talk about it because we have so much chaos going on in the world right now, and we have people picking sides, and we have people on the left saying they're right, people on the right saying they're right. People in the middle saying they're right, people over here. Everyone has formulated this their own opinions, their own beliefs to say like, hey, I'm more correct than you are. I'm more. It's honestly just been tiring, to be honest with you. And honestly, it's gotten to a point where it's not happening where I live, right? Like the stuff. The obviously this is happening in LA. I don't live in LA. I don't live in California, but it's still happening within the United States. And as Americans, I think we should care about what goes on, what happens, regardless of the state and regardless of the impact that it directly has on us. But that being said, I think that we are getting to this point where, I mean, well, honestly, forget we're getting to. We've gotten to this point where we have forgotten what it's like to treat each other as people, and I think that and I've said this before, but I think that a lot of us, a lot of people have forgotten, what a spiritual battle that we are in right now, and that is the part that I think that is overlooked is this spiritual battle that we're in, where we think we're you'll see what's going on. You're like, oh man, craziness happened over there again. Wow, I guess that's to happen. No, like this is spiritual warfare, and and I didn't used to be one of the these believers that thought so much about spiritual warfare and what that looked like and what that meant, until the more I got into the word, the more I started really seeking God. I started to realize, like, okay, there is this spiritual battle that's going on, and you know some of us, we don't want to think about it. And truthfully, that's what it was. I didn't want to think about it. I didn't want to realize like the bigger picture, the ramifications of what a spiritual battle is and what that meant. Meaning, you know, and like what it meant, not only for me but especially for my family. And so in moments like these, I think it's important that you get down on your knees and you just pray to God, and we have to we have to seek him. you know my kids, I pray for my kids every day. I mean, I multiple times a day, right? Whether it's them going to bed, or I'm just sitting there and I'm struggling with a parenting thing, and I pray for them. But I think the biggest thing, one of the things, is we are we're in this battle, and you cannot overlook it. You cannot cheapen it. You cannot devalue it as if it's no big deal. You cannot say, well, as long I was baptized, so that's a good. I'm a good Christian. I'm doing my thing. Like, no, like, you have to understand, and we have to know, guys, that you this battle is this spiritual battle is real. So that being said, let's dive right into it, because I want to show you guys some of the stuff that's going on in the news. And then I'll give my 2 cents on it, on kind of what I think is going on and whatnot. But I think visually this is important for you guys to see as well. So let me make sure. Let me go over here. Picture, boom. Okay, so let's go over here and let's see what let's hear what CNN said they have going on.
Protests erupt over the weekend, with police using rubber bullets and tear gas. And President Donald Trump announcing the deployment of 2,000 members of the National Guard to disperse demonstrators.
My husband's a soldier overseas as we speak, and I'm a veteran. So this angers me.
Peaceful demonstrations began Friday afternoon after federal immigration agents detained dozens of people amid Trump's crackdown on immigration. Demonstrators gathered outside the Metropolitan Detention Center in downtown LA. But as day turned to night, clashes flared, and they continued into Saturday, not only downtown, but around 10 miles southeast in Paramount, California. Officers in tactical gear and gas masks lined the streets and attempted to disperse the crowds. Helicopter cameras captured the moment a car went up in flames amid the chaos. Over at the detention center, protesters held a rally Saturday evening. Police emerged through a gate of the building and eventually fired off rubber bullets, flashbangs, and tear gas, leaving the streets engulfed in white smoke. President Trump, meanwhile, has deployed the National Guard to control what he has called violent insurrectionist mobs online, sparking tensions with Democratic California Governor Gavin Newsom, who called the deployment of troops purposefully inflammatory and warned it would only escalate the situation.
It's craziness. It is insanity. And honestly, to what I think is, for what I think is going on, because we, hold on, let me so you guys can see this. I think I think honestly it's insanity. What's going on out there? Because again, all of these things, some of these things, man, are just has turned into a complete political orchestra, right? It's politically orchestrated, where to the point where everything is just, I don't know how to explain it, but everything just seems like it's just, we just have to do it politically motivated is the point I'm trying to make. And honestly, it can get tiring. When again the politics, the things of it all, it can get tiring. I don't want to, I don't necessarily want to focus on the politics side of it, because I know that's not what we're here for. That's not what the podcast is about here. But I want to go over some few points. I do want to cover a few points, and I think that these are important points that I think that that I think are every parent, because think about it, right? I know there are young people out there, and they're doing this and under the belief that this is the right thing to do. This is what we're supposed to do. This is what we're supposed to be doing to be on the right side of history. If you go back in the history of the United States, going back to times in people made fun of the hippies, right? Like this is a movement, if you will. Use that word freely, but that is similar to that, where the hippies and were against what was going on within the federal government. I think when that was Vietnam or Korea, I don't remember which one. I think it was Vietnam, and that's what the hippie movement came from, and all these things. And so like we've seen these movements before, where and it's led up by young people, and they want to be on the right side of history. Again, I understand the sentiment of wanting to be on the right side of history. I understand when you believe in something so passionately, such as I believe, such as me believing as Jesus died on the cross for our sins. You want to get that message out, and you want people to hear you. Now, that does not mean that I condone what is going on in Los Angeles. I think that's important to say here, distinguished to say here, but also what it does mean to me, what it does look like or what that means for me is also is we have to look at what we're doing as parents and how we're raising our kids, and the foundation in which we're raising our kids upon. I wanted to start here with the front lines is in the living room. And what I mean by that is the front line being in the living room is your front lines for your home, for your family is at home in the living room, which are the things that you're doing to help grow your children. And you know, as my kids get older, right, you know, they'll start to be plugged in. They're going to be plugged into to things, to social media and all that. Even though me personally, I don't want them to be. You know, I think that as they get older, at one point, you know, their friends are going to have it and they're going to want it. And again, I'm not saying peer pressure because their friends have it, but I think, you know, at one point, it's going to be reasonable. My kids will be at a reasonable age when I think, hey, have a cell phone. Okay, what certain apps can you have? Okay, you can have this app. You can have that app. I don't want you to have this app. Whatever the case might be. That being said, my kids are going to grow up and they're going to see these things happening around them. My kids are not blind. They're not deaf. I'm not going to be able to put them in a bomb shelter and say nothing's going on. Right? I don't think we should shelter our kids, and so my kids are going to be able to see these things at one point in their life, and they're going to say like, how did this happen? Like, what do we do? What are we supposed to do? What's the right answer here? And they're going to look to us because us as parents, we are the superheroes to them. And you know, we may not be superheroes in the sense of, you know, with the cape and the mask on when they're you know, in their teens, but we're still the voice of reason. We're still considered their voice of reason, the ones they seek when everything is just seeming chaotic and there's nothing, like you don't know what the answer is. We're their voice of reason. We're supposed to be that. Hey, like, how do I handle this? And nowadays a lot of parents are having these political conversations with their kids anyway, because of the culture and what it's turned into. So you know, it is what it is. And so that being said, you know, I honestly have been thinking about what if my especially my oldest, she's 7, but if she was older and she saw this going on the TV, she saw all this destruction, and you know, and she asked me, Dad, what's going on? Like, I don't understand, why is all this happening? Like, what are we supposed to do? Like, I start to think about the answer that I would give her, and honestly, the first answer I would give her is like, honestly, we need to make sure that we're seeking God, and we need to pray. We need to pray for the people who are out there, who are hurting others. Pray for the police officers. Pray for law enforcement. Pray for the troops that got deployed, or who got sent over there. Pray for the Marines who got sent over there. Pray for the people who live in that area who want nothing to do with what's going on, but because of just the premise of where they live, they're forced to be in the vicinity, involved in a lot of ways. Pray for everyone. You know what I mean? Like, a long way of saying just pray for everyone, and that's where it starts, right? And we have to start there with the simplest thing of just prayer and seeking God. And then from there, you know, I think after that, it's where we have to have these conversations with our kids, and we have to let them know like that there are things like this are happening, but that does not mean that you need to involve yourself. That does not mean that you need to put yourself in a position or a place where you could get hurt, or where someone else could get hurt, or where you could go to jail. Like, you know, don't put yourself in a position where that you need to involve yourself with that. I think, you know, for this time being, like, we need to keep hands off, and we need to as these things are unfolding, I think prayer is essential, and we can talk about it as a family, but then as they get older, then, you know, we can definitely figure out and talk about what that would look like for them if they wanted to pursue, you know, service to the government, service to whether it's in the military, to the law enforcement, or nonprofits. If they want to support the community and they want to be part of that, whether it's journalism, right? Then yeah, let's talk about it. Let's figure out why you want to be that, why you want to do that, all those things. But like, I think for the time being is, hey, there's enough people out there. I don't think how they're going about it is the right way. The violence, the fire bombs, the lighting vehicles on fire. Like, literally, listen to this, guys. They're lighting vehicles on fire. They're doing these. And I honestly cannot. I don't understand what the purpose is of lighting a vehicle on fire is going to do to your cause. I don't get. And so when someone says, "Hey, I have this belief, I have this cause that I believe that we're fighting for, I'm gonna light this on fire," I'm like, why? No, no, don't do that. Like let's figure out a way. Let's figure out what that means and how we're going to actually, as a whole, come to a way we can, solve this problem with peace, though, right? Because we all have and you have to have an end goal, have a desired end state, but like figure out through a peaceful means. And so, that being said, guys, like I think I do think a lot of this, what's going on, is very, very critically insane, and it's chaos, and it can cause some of us as parents to freeze up and feel like we don't have the right answer. Like, what do I tell my kids, right? What if you're a parent who in a way supports what they're doing, right? How do you tell your kids? Do you tell your kids, hey, go out and what they're doing is right, justified, let's go burn the city down, in a way? Like, and I'm not trying to sound demonstrative or attack them or attack people who have that stance, but how do you, I do genuinely want to understand, like, how do you express that to your kids, right? Or do you, on the other side, you said, hey, no, we should be a part of them stopping them. Do you shove your kids and your family into the mix, or do you just say, hey, like, let's not get involved. Let's, because, again, so many people are going to say, like, oh, you're interventionist and you don't want to get involved and all these things. Like, no, like, I don't think it's sad all these things happen. I don't think they should happen. And I think that we should, hey, families, focus on getting your kids to be good members of society. Because here's why, right? Here's why I hold this belief. Because if you make your kid sure your kids have a strong foundation and they're strong members of society as they are, and good adults, here's what happens when they become adults, and whatever field, profession that they get into, they will know how to understand how to be good members of society and providing for their community and seeing their community grow. And then the more adults we create like that, the less tension, the less division that we have as a community, which then spreads to the cities, to the states, and as the country as a whole. And that's what I think is essential here. And what we need to remember is you're not going to fix the world's problems. You're not going to fix me going out there. We're not going to fix LA's. We're not going to fix what's going on in LA. We're not going to fix what's going to go on. I'm not going to fix what's going on in California. I can't fix these things. I have a voice, I have a platform, right, such as this, and I can hopefully reach others, young parents or older parents or whomever, and to help, their kids, to say, like, hey, let's pump the brakes. Let's not get involved. Let's it's crazy unfortunately how these things are happening, but we can talk about it here, and we can as a family see what that means for us, but let's not get involved, right? Because as a family, we need to decide what that means, what this looks like for us, what that means, and what the future looks like, if you will. And it gets tricky, though, right? When because you start that conversation, and then you get into this aspect of like, okay, but the president of the United States deployed the National Guard and the Marines. Right. So, like, let's go over this article right here. It says Trump deploys Marines to Los Angeles. And it's talking about the Trump administration has ordered about 700 Marines to join National Guard troops in Los Angeles after protests this weekend over mass deportation policies turned violent. The Marines will not participate in law enforcement activities unless the president invokes the Insurrection Act, which will allow them to suppress violence, according to two defense officials granted anonymity to discuss internal operations. It's not clear what role the Marines will play, but one of the officials said they will likely support the 2,000 National Guard troops sent to assist law enforcement with logistics. Let's see. I'm trying to find out where they sent how many. The task force that includes the Guard members and the Marines are trained in the crowd control and de-escalation, the command said in a statement. Only about 300 Guard members have arrived in Los Angeles, but they deployed quickly. Photo emerged on Monday of the troops sleeping on the ground as they awaited orders. The Marines are coming from 29 Palms in California desert and are expected to arrive within the next day. So, yeah. So there's a lot going on, and then it goes into deeper into the conflicts between the conflicts currently right now between uh, Gavin Newsom and President Trump. So this is it's great. Again, all of this is going on, and it's crazy to see. But they deployed the troops, and one of the things that come to the realization is these troops are going to be, again, praying for these troops, but the troops are going to be sent out there, and while we can, we can pray for the troops, and while the troops can go out there and hopefully assist assist out there to bring to calm everything down, and bring peace and order back in. Honestly, the division is still going to be happening. These I think this is just as a spark to something else. But again, this is honestly, guys, like this is a scary thing to think about of what is going on. And can we as a society, can we do anything to quell things down, to calm things down? And again, you guys got to lead your families back to Christ. You guys got to involve your families in the church, involve your families in get them in a place where growth is spiritual growth is demanded, right? Because I said this in the beginning, and this is spiritual warfare. And I say that because I know some of y'all are gonna be like, "What the hell are you talking about?" I say that because there are these things that are happening, right? This chaos. We think again, reading in the Bible, Sodom and Gomorrah, a prime example, right? There was so much just chaos and destruction and just indecency, just all these things going in Sodom and Gomorrah, and this is what led God to say, hey, the destruction of these things, these places are going to happen. And so I'm not saying, obviously, I don't, Sodom and Gomorrah, that's, I don't think that's going to happen again. But what or it won't happen again. But again, where I go with this and why I say this is because the devil comes out to steal, kill, and destroy. And think about the influence and impact of the people that are doing wrong, right? The evil that they're out there that doing wrong. And so there's people out there doing wrong, and there's evil out there, and that is, I'm telling you, that is distance from God. So this battle, spiritual battle, where we have to keep our hearts guarded, right? It makes me go to, so I want to go to, let's go first here to, my bad. Let's go to Ephesians 6. And it starts Ephesians 6 verse 10, where it starts, and I won't read. Maybe I'll read the whole thing, but anyway. Here's where I'll start. It says, let's do 13. You know what? We're going to read the whole thing. A final word. Be strong in the Lord and his mighty power. Put on all of God's armor so that you will be able to stand firm against all strategies of the devil. For we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in this dark world, against evil spirits in the heavenly places. Therefore, put on every piece of God's armor so you will be able to resist the enemy in the time of evil. Then after the battle, you will be standing firm. Stand your ground, putting on the belt of truth and the body armor of God's righteousness. For shoes, put on the peace that comes from the good news so that you will be fully prepared. In addition to all these, hold up the shield of faith to stop the fiery arrows of the devil. Put on salvation as your helmet and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Pray in the Spirit at all times and on every occasion. Stay alert and be persistent in your prayers for all believers everywhere. And pray for me as it's finishing there. But I can finish reading for you. Ask and pray for me. Ask God to give me the right words so I can boldly explain God's mysterious plan to the good plan that the good news is for Jews and Gentiles alike. I am in the chains now, so I will preach. So I'm still preaching the message as God's ambassador. So I pray that I will keep on speaking boldly for Him as I should. I love Ephesians. Man, I do love that. But like, I want you to, the part that I want that stands out to me here that I want you guys to hear is, put on all of God's armor so that you will be able to stand firm against all strategies of the devil. For we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in this dark world, and against evil spirits in the heavenly places. I'm telling y'all, it says it in the Word. It says it in the Word. Gosh, man, He has an answer for everything. Pray in the Spirit at all times and on every occasion. Stay alert and be persistent in your prayers for all believers everywhere. Guys, this is what I'm talking about when I say this. When I'm talking about this, we cannot forget that this is a spiritual battle. You cannot. We have to remember this is a spiritual battle. You have to. Man, such powerful words from Paul there. So then I also, back in Ephesians 4, let me read this. Where is it at? Where'd it go? With the Lord's authority, I say this: live no longer as the Gentiles do, for they are hopelessly confused. Their minds are full of darkness. They wander far from the life God gives, because they have closed their minds and hardened their hearts against Him. They have no sense of shame. They live a lustful pleasure and eagerly practicing every kind of impurity. But that isn't what you learned about Christ. Since you have heard about Jesus and have learned the truth, and that comes from Him, throw off your old sinful nature, your former way of life, which is corrupted by lust and deception. Instead, let the Spirit renew your thoughts and attitudes. Put on your new nature, created to be like God, truly righteous and holy. So stop telling lies. Let us tell all neighbors the truth, for we are all parts of the same body. And don't sin by letting anger control you. Don't let the sun go down while you are still angered, for anger gives a foothold to the devil. Listen, the word of God is perfect, guys. It's amazing how you can go to the Word and you can find these things, these moments in the Bible where you can say, like, okay, it's not exactly replica of what's going on here, but it's similar, very, very similar, right? And you can say, okay, what did they do? What did the Bible say to do in during those times? Seek the Lord, prayer. Guys, this is, again, this for me is one of these things where I think that we need to continually seek God. You have to continually seek God. And I know I keep saying that. And again, this is not meant to be a political, I'm not here to speak on politics on this platform. What I am speaking to is I want to speak to the culture, because the culture of this world is, and what's going on in this world is man, it's crazy what's going on. And so the battle is really, for me, where my mind goes, and why when all this is happening is, how do I protect my kids? How do I teach my kids the difference between cultural and spiritual, right? Because there's things going on in the culture, but then there's and it's right in our faces on the news and the social media, all this. There's things going on here, but then how do I teach my kids how do I show my kids that this is a spiritual thing, right? And so my mind goes there. So then I have to go to the Word, and I have to pray to God. I say, God, I want to understand. Because when I was a kid, so when I was a kid, I can tell you, I remember verbatim the day 9/11. I remember what I can tell you where I was at. I can tell you the morning. I've told the story several times to people I'm close with, but I can tell you I remember what was going on. I can remember my dad scaling at the TV because keep in mind, my dad's a pilot, right? And so I remember him yelling at the TV so angrily, and then still going to school. And then, as a kid, you can't understand what's happening, what's unfolding in front of you. And my parents, I'm sure, because my dad was just distraught. My mom was distraught. They didn't know what to do. People were trying to call each other, trying to say, do we know anybody on the flight? Is everyone okay? What's going on? And you didn't have cell phones. We didn't have cell phones like that. I don't even think cell phones were a thing. I think they were, but it wasn't as big as it is now. You still had people were actually using payphones. Home phones were the big deal. If you don't know what a home phone is, shame on you. But anyway, all of these. So contact was difficult. And so that was a big moment for me as a kid. What was going on in the culture of the world. And a perfect moment for my parents to really rein in and say, okay, hey, this is what spiritual warfare, this is what we need to do and how we need to handle this. And then from there, let God direct our steps on figuring out what next looks like for our family. Now, I'm not going to speak for the country, for our family specifically in that moment, right? In that time, because it was a moment of just complete chaos and uncertainty. You didn't know what the future held. And again, I'm not saying that 9/11 is comparative to this situation, but I'm using that as an example for you guys to understand for something that happened to me as a kid when I was about my oldest daughter's age, to understand what are you going to do? How my parents didn't explain to me what was going on, right? So now, what are you, as a parent, how are you going to explain this to your kids? And this is why I think it's important, why you need to explain it to your kids. Things are happening. These things are happening in real life. There's chaos. There's burning of the cars. They're doing this and they're protesting. They have their belief. They're at the right. But you cannot forget. You cannot forget. We have to be faithful to the Lord. Our faith is what directs us. Our faith in Him is what guides us. Our faith is what gives us the hope for tomorrow, gives us the hope that this is happening, right? And things are bad, but there's a hope for a better future. I often think to myself what my life would be like if I didn't have Christ in it. If I had not, came back to the faith and really devoted my life back to Christ, where my life would be right now. And I can tell you guys, honestly, guys, it'd be stressful, it'd be chaotic, it'd just be turmoil. I don't know what it would be. And I don't even know what would be going on, man. It's just in my head. But I could tell you it would be crazy. And one thing, and this is why I'm so happy that I'm back with the Lord, because what He allows me to do when moments like this happen, and He said, I just need a moment with the Lord. It allows me to turn off the noise and just pray and just be with Him and feel His presence and just say, Lord, what is it? I don't know what's going to happen. I pray that, that this calms down. I pray that people, go home to their families. I pray that people are okay in the end, but I don't know what it is that's going on, but we just need you, God. People need to feel you in their hearts. So many of you have hardened your hearts. And this is the thing for me that is so hard, so difficult, is some of you will hear this and just be like, yeah, whatever, another freaking blabbing Christian about how prayer is so powerful and it's all going to work and all these things. But I'm telling you, you have no idea the power of God. You have no idea of the God we serve. Let me give you, perfect example. My son's name is Elijah. And if you haven't seen the video about him being born, go check it out. But the reason I bring this up is I named my son Elijah when I was 16. I had the name of Elijah picked out when I was 16. And the reason I named my son, because the story in the Bible of Elijah praying to God and bringing fire from the sky. That doesn't just happen. Okay? I don't know if you've prayed before and fire just came from the sky because God, you prayed to God and he said, "Yep, I got you." Right? Like, and that wasn't just like Elijah just wasn't like, "Yeah, I prayed every once in a while." No, Elijah was a devout believer in God. He is one of the essential prophets of God. And so when I read that and I thought how powerful that was, that's what I named my son Elijah. Now, I bring up Elijah because I bring up, again, how powerful God is and how the power of prayer is. Because he called upon God. His faith in God was amazing. And gosh, man, you guys have no, we have so much, we can do so many things through the power of Christ. We can. And it requires faith, and not just one-time faith, but it requires continuous maturing in your faith and your growth and your walk with God. And when you reach that level of faith and you're able to, when you reach that high level of faith, right? But you're a faith where it just cannot be shaken, where people can tell your God isn't real, and you'd be like, "Yeah, he is," and they're like, "No, he isn't," and you want to go back. They want to go back and forth, and you're like, "I'm sorry, you don't believe that, but I know my God's real. I know the God that I serve." And you can give that to your kids, where you can teach them and mentor them and help them grow in the foundation of how powerful, amazing God is. All this is just white noise that would going on. It would be like, that's not where the Lord wants our focus. The devil wants our focus here. That's not where the Lord wants our focus. And it's unfortunate all these things are happening. I'm not going to say we're not blind to reality, but there's something deeper going on. It's deeper than politics. It's deeper than the shadow government. It's deeper than the entire world. And that's the spiritual warfare that I'm talking about. And we educate our kids. They'd be a force to reckon with the devil, right? The devil will have a hard time coming for him, because trust and believe. Those who are in faith, those who are devout believers, those who know, who pray, who seek God daily, those who wake up every day and seek Him, those who are believers, who just know, and I just love God and just want to be immersed in His presence all the time. I can tell you that they know that this is spiritual warfare that's going on. So, listen, y'all, that's all I got for y'all. Thanks for joining me. I want y'all to first and foremost check out the website, mediocredads.net. It means a lot to us. Check it out. Check out the website, okay? It's and then you have our podcast, and then you have all the podcast information on there, podcast, the show, a blog on there. Also, go get cop some merchandise, the ODA, Obedience Demands Action merchandise. Several new options out there. Go get you some merchandise. Support the channel that way. If you would like, if you feel ever so generous to support the channel monetarily, that's a way to do that, right? If not, the best and the easy way and the cheap way and the free way is to subscribe to the channel and share it. That's all I ask. Subscribe and share. That's the better way. That's a cheap and the free way and the best way, honestly, for the channel to grow, and it means a lot to me. I'm gonna link another video for you guys below that I think all of you should check out. If you liked this video and you thought this video resonated with you, I want you all to check out. I felt like I was failing until God reminded me who I was, until who I am. It's a video I did, I think this was like 2 weeks ago. I don't remember exactly. I do a lot of videos. Anyway, go check out that video, okay? It will be linked. You'll be able to access it. You'll be able to see it. But go check out that video. Highly encourage you to do so. And honestly, it will it will You'll like it. You'll like it. So go check it out. Again, thanks guys for joining us. It means a lot to me. Be on the lookout tomorrow in the morning. Another Mediocre Dads episode is coming out. I felt compelled to get on here today just to do this live episode because I wanted to really talk about what's going on. But again, tomorrow Mediocre Dads episode is coming out, and then Thursday we'll be live. Okay, Thursday we'll be live. Check it out. You'll see us. Actually, Thursday we'll be live at around 10:30 in the morning. A live episode. So be on the lookout for it, guys. Can't wait to see y'all there. And you know what? Again, guys, as usual, remember that being mediocre is a choice, and you have to refuse to be mediocre every single day. So I got Mediocre Dads out. Catch you guys later.